Please be seated. Earlier this week, the prefects presented a video featuring a question, which was, what is your power? Now, many of you may be thinking, who cares? Why does it matter? Why do I need to know what my power is? I believe that finding our powers and discovering who we are brings us that much closer to happiness. In fact, on May 8th, 1963, U.S. President John F. Kennedy said, "Happiness is the full use of our powers along the lines of excellence." Happiness, the full use of our powers along the lines of excellence. Now, we need to unpack this quote in order to see its powerful message. The first part of his answer states that happiness is the full use of our powers. Now, by powers, I doubt President Kennedy meant the fictitious abilities we see on blockbuster movies and comic books. But instead, I believe he meant each individual's natural talents. The ability to speak, the ability to act, the ability to sing. Each is a power on their own. But President Kennedy did not merely say each of our power. He stated the full use of our powers, plural, meaning that each individual has more than one power of their own. We do not dare believe that we can only do one thing right. For example, Amari. He's an excellent soccer player, but a fantastic dancer. He has multiple abilities and powers and is able to use them all fully. I am not saying that those who can only identify one power in themselves cannot be happy. No. I am saying that with confidence, faith, and time, we can all discover new powers. And by discovering and cultivating those powers, we can all reach new heights of happiness. At Appleby, we are presented with numerous opportunities to discover new powers. For me, this was joining Malta United Nations, which is where I found my passion and power of public speaking. I found much happiness in my new power. I found happiness in being able to not only communicate, but to connect with various people at once. Being able to share thoughts, emotions, and fears brought me happiness. Every opportunity that we take brings us that much closer to discovering a new power, and in turn, that much closer to happiness. So I challenge you to constantly try new things. Enroll in that AP Physics course. Try out for the soccer team. Start a band. Partake in service. Or do all four. Because the more you try new things, the more opportunities you give yourself to discover new powers that you may have never even known you had. And in turn, the better you'll feel. But of course, there is always the experience of failure. The moment that we discover that we may not have a certain power that we wished for. But in those same moments of failure, we are giving another opportunity. The opportunity to enhance another power. The power to persevere, to endure. Sometimes failure is the best opportunity to learn. And learning in failure is always better than never trying in the first place. But what are our powers really if we don't apply them to the world? Which brings us to the second section of this quote, along the lines of excellence. How often do you hear about the person being recognized for failing to strive to excellence? Can you name the swimmer who says that they would have been great, but quit after losing their first race? Or the engineer who could have made an excellent bridge, but didn't have the confidence to follow through on his design? No. We remember those who pushed themselves, who strove for excellence no matter what challenges they faced. Simply put, we do ourselves a disservice if we just discover new powers and do nothing to develop them. We cannot use our powers to affect those around us unless we strive to develop them first. To do this, we must put in time. We need to identify those who have already achieved our excellence that we seek and emulate them. At Appleby, we are surrounded by teachers and coaches and other students who have achieved excellence in many areas. These people can help us learn how to become more powerful. In my life, I have looked to my parents, my siblings, and our science teachers to set a lofty standard of excellence for me. I ask you all to identify those around you who have achieved excellence in your power, because having a role model is a great way to improve your power. But most importantly, I believe that we can all develop our powers by paying it forward. The process of helping others develop their own powers is beneficial to everyone, because by teaching others what we know, we strengthen our grasp on that power and bring ourselves closer to excellence and happiness. As you remember, President Kennedy stated that we must fully use our powers. I believe there is no individual definition of full use. We may all discover the existence of different limits about how far we can take our powers. But unlike most, I believe limits are actually a good thing. But get me straight, I do not speak of the limits that others impose on us. And I do not speak of the limits that we preconceive believe. I speak of the limits that we naturally discover after we've put all of our effort into a specific power. These limits offer us the ability to truly gauge the full use of that specific power and identify how we can use it to change the world. After doing all of this, we are in a better position to achieve a specific type of happiness. The full use of our powers affects not only our lives, but the lives of those around us. When President Kennedy spoke of happiness, I don't think he only meant personal happiness. Instead, I believe he as well meant something greater: universal happiness. If every individual in Appleby College were to not only enhance, but also use all of our powers to the best of our abilities, the amount of impact that we would create would travel much further than the gates of Appleby. We would impact countless numbers of people and things that are not a part of the Appleby community, thus achieving universal happiness. Powers are much more than goofy abilities that we see on TV. They do matter because powers, abilities, and talents define who we are. We have the ability to discover, enhance, exploit, and apply as many powers as we wish. All we need to do is start searching. So Senior 2s, as we journey through our last year together, we're increasingly giving opportunities to pay it forward. The opportunity to spark a new discovery of powers in someone else. I dare you to grasp these opportunities and enhance your powers by leaving a mark in future graduating classes. And Senior 1s, it is not too late to create new opportunities for growth here at Appleby. I ask you to look for ways as a school we can give students more opportunities to grow and develop their powers. The world is full of opportunities to gain new powers. And if we fully use our powers along the lines of excellence, we can all achieve happiness. Now, would you please stand for the singing of hymn 575, Streams of Living Justice?